Welcome back to part 2. I hope you enjoy this part. This has nothing to do with part 2. It's just there to look pretty while I read out some names. I realised I forgot to read out the names at the beginning of part 1. So I'm going to start with big welcomes and hello to KD Chris, Glenn Leader, created by Catherine, Gillian Brown, Sunny Girl, Anna Tronson, Kath Avalon, Hannah, Jackie Galloway, Katrina for Paper, and Olga Lujan, and Denise Johnson. Denise, thank you for your tip on how to tell the difference between the warp and the weft, and I only just received that this morning, so thank you very much, and we'll carry on now with part 2. So good luck with this, and I hope you enjoy it. Now I have 2 pieces here, the back and the front, and I have a spine. This is the spine, and this is actually the wrong way of the fabric. It's the back side, if you like, and that I believe is the right side, but I prefer that, the lovely green, which goes with our flowers and the green background with a little bit of red, if you can see that, a little bit of red. So all the colours here are reflected in this and in this. Now, before we actually start assembling the journal cover, we have to make something to hang the cover on. I'm doing this with a cereal box. Now, I've had to make it longer, so I've added an extension, and I've added that in the middle here where the spine will go. So this is why that is a different card. Now, this card here is stronger than this cardboard because I'm going to put 3 signatures in here, so we need something. I knew that was going to happen. No, go away. We need something sturdy to hang the signatures on, so that is why that is sturdier. I've also put some PVA on this as well, back and front, and I've dried it just to give it a little bit more strength, but you don't have to do that. It's just something I like to do. But then I but then I like to PVA everything, so take no notice of me. Now, what I'm going to do, I've made this slightly smaller than these pieces. I'm not giving you any measurements because your work will be a different size possibly. So I've made this card, the inside card, slightly smaller, if you can see that, and I need to pull this out because the spine will go in there. Oh, it's a bit difficult now for you to see, isn't it? Let me move this down a little bit. Can you see that? Not very well, but this card is smaller than the fabric, and that is to allow for a seam allowance because we're going to sew this to an inside, a lining. So I'm just going to put this over to one side, so when you come to cut out your shapes, or your back and your front, you need to remember to add seam allowances around all your edges. Okay, this bit here, the spine, is going to be 3 inches, which is quite nice and strong. There you go, to put 3 chunky signatures on there. So that's already looking like a folder, isn't it? Open it up, and there we go. Now the next thing to do, and I like to do this, but you don't have to do this, is to cover this, the outside, whichever's going to be your outside, to cover it in either felt or an old piece of blanketing or wooden, something nice and soft, or a soft fabric, woolen fabric. And why that is, it just plumps up the cover. Now, as I said, you don't have to do this at all, but I like to do it on the front, and it just gives the cover a nice plumpness, especially if you've got fabric, a slow stitched fabric. It lifts it up. Can you see that? That is the family WhatsApp, and they're all on there and they're all having a chat, so I might have to get up in a minute and turn that off. I wonder what they're chatting about. Ooh, I might have to get up and read it. So very quickly now, I'm going to glue this onto here. Now I've cut out quite a long strip. The width is okay, the width's the same, because you want this the same size as this. So the width is the same size, same length here, but I've cut it out a lot longer. Now that is to ensure that when it's folded, there's enough wadding or blanketing or whatever you choose to use, because if I were to cut this the exact size as the cardboard, when it's folded over, there's going to be a tension. The mere fact of pulling that over is going to pull this over, and it's going to shorten it slightly. And I'm just going to put some PVA on it all the way over. Right, what would we do without our cereal boxes, our Amazon boxes, and every other piece of parcel packaging we get? Actually, now this I'm just going to pop down. I'm going to extend it a little bit over the end. Up there, you might just be able to see that. You see the difference there? I'm going to pat it down all the way along. Just going to keep folding it in to make sure that it isn't too tight. So fold that in, make sure it's not too tight. That's lovely. And then let's put that there. Lovely. And then over here, give a check. Yeah, that isn't too tight. It looks as if I might need a little bit more glue on there. What will I do with those scissors? So I'm going to just cut this off here because let's have a look. And now I'm going to, oh, it's drying already. Right, now the cover. Now I've got a little sign, a little label here that just says FL for front left. I want this obviously on the front right, but I want that seam there on the left, and I've even marked it here, sew to spine, because that's to make sure I get it up the right way, the way that I want it. So I want this the open side and that the spine side, and I decided that this, although on our painting it was running down the side, I want this on the top. So that goes there, and now the spine, the fabric for the spine will go here. I'm going to pin it. Now that will need trimming, it's just slightly long, so I'm going to pin it. Now it's up to you if you want to tack it. Now I will machine sew this, but you can do this by hand. Don't feel excluded if you don't have a sewing machine. All this can be done with hand, with a couple of rows of running stitch, tiny running stitch, or a couple of rows of back stitch. So you're not excluded from doing this. So there we have the front, and this is the spine, and this is the back. I'm keeping the back plain because the front is busy enough, that's busy enough. and in its own way that is actually busy. And just pin this once again, you tack it if you want to. This has just been interfaced, but it hasn't got calico on it. I'm not putting calico on it because the cardboard will stiffen it enough, and the PVA. So now that will be the front and the back. I've also chosen the fabric to line it with, and this, believe it or not, is from a shirt of my son's. So this needs to be the same size as the whole thing now, because it's going to be sewn together. It's going to be sewn right sides together like so, and machine sewn all the way round 3 sides. It will be machine sewn 3 sides, the 2 long sides and along here, which will be the front opening. So the 2 long sides and along there, leaving this edge open. Well, you can probably tell this isn't the fabric that I intended for the lining. It was this one, but I did actually cut it too narrow. The length was fine, but it was just a bit too narrow, so I was really disappointed about that. But I'll get to use that for something else, so it isn't wasted. So it's been sewn all the way around, and it's like a long bag now. So there's the front, the lining, and here we have it. Now this is the big moment when we pull it in to the right way. So hand in the bag, grab the bottom and just pull it through. Lovely. And there we have it. So we need to carefully pull the corners out, and we've done this now several times. Needs something nice, like a blunt pencil. Let's have a look, see what I've got here. Oh, let's try this. I'm going to use this bone folder. Make sure the corners are out nicely. Lovely. And what doesn't come out, we can get a pin and just pull them out, or prick them out with the pin. Lovely. Flatten it out a little bit. It's looking like a cover already. So there's the front with the four flowers up the top. That bit belongs to the back. And here we have the spine, part of the spine there, the whole spine. And here we have the back. So it just needs to be pulled. Might need a press for it. Might need a press, but I'm going to try and get away without a press. Now the next thing is to put this, slide this in, which is now the folder, the actual card folder. I'm going to slide it in, keeping the wadding on the top. Let me just, lovely. Now very carefully going to feed this through the gap here. And keep your fingers crossed that it actually fits. So keep this up on the top and very, very carefully just push it through. Oh, so far so good. Now if we pull it down like a stocking, I might just be able to push that through. No, I'm going to curl it, push it in curled. like so. So it's curled, to push it in, it's curled like this. Push it down to the end. You can put your hand in there and make sure it's corner to corner. So we've got the corner of the card in the corner of the cover. And the PVA makes it just a little bit stronger. There we go. That's corner to corner. Make sure the seams are out on the edge. The seams need to be out on the edge all the way round. Lovely. The back. And now the next thing we do, I'm just going to trim that a little bit more. You see the card inside, there isn't much of a, oh actually I haven't pulled it properly. Right, yeah, I'll take that back before I finish what I was going to say. Right, now this, no, I was right. It just needs to be trimmed a tiny bit. So I'm just going to ease the card out and just trim it maybe 1/4 of an inch all the way along. Lovely. So I've just trimmed that off. Okay. And then we're going to tuck these in. Tuck each side in and pin all the way along. Right, by starting in the middle, you're holding it in place while you pin the rest of it, and it makes it just a bit easier. And that is ready for over sewing now. There's no need to tack. Tacking might be a bit difficult because the card is right up to the edge now, so it might be difficult, but we're going to over sew, and the over sewing, as you know, goes from one side to the other. That's all we're going to do. So I'm going to do that now. So now you're going to over sew where the pins are along that side, and you're going to go in one side right the way across, so the needle goes right the way through both fabrics, both sides, over and pull. We've done this many times before. So over, thread over, in through both sides at the same time, so there's two sides on the needle, pull, that's one stitch, over, needle through both sides, over. You're actually missing the cardboard. I can feel the cardboard, but I'm not going through it. And that's all there is to over sewing. And what I didn't say when I started this was I'm using sewing machine thread double, and it's lovely and strong. It isn't going to break, so use your thread double in a nice pointed needle with a nice, not too long an eye, it just does the job lovely. Right, I'm now at the end, so what I'll do, I'll over sew, make a couple of small stitches in one place, 1, 2, then knot the last one, loop it and knot it, lovely, and then lose the thread in the fabric. So just take your needle back on itself like so. There we go, and you can cut that off now. It's hidden, it's secure, and that's fine. So take the pins out, and there we go, and that is the cover. There's the spine, front of it, and the back, and it looks like that. Right, I just need to straighten up some of the edges, which I'll go off and do now. But there is your folder, your junk journal. Or not so junk, it depends what you put in it. There's the folder. Alright, folder. Nice deep spine there. And the back. Then that is ready for us to start filling. Now I've started to collect the papers that I want to use to go inside. Now there's a whole collection of different bits and pieces here. I started sizing them last night, and this is the size of a double page to go inside the journal that stretches, that stretches right the way across. Now I've decided that I probably need about 3 signatures in here, definitely 2, maybe 3, and this at the moment is the collection for possibly 2, 1.5 to 2. Now some of these pages are going to have to be joined together to make this size. I took this off my drawing pad. So that is the size of its double, but a lot of the pages that I've cut out that I'm using are not this size, so I'm going to have to join them at some point. That's probably the next task. I'll have to join them along here so I end up with one double page, because if I don't do that I'm going to end up with very short pages here, and I don't really want that. So I will spend some time joining them. So that will be my next task. Then I should start embellishing the sides, the page sides along here. So that is the next thing to do. So I should nip off and do that, and it won't take very long. And it's a really nice task to do, so I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm going to start that right now. I'm going to join all these pieces here with a little bit of paper and a little bit of glue to strengthen them. Let's see what I've got here. I'll take that one. So with my trusty old glue stick, I'm just going to run along there, 2 at the same time, smash in, whoops, join these together and then let them dry, because this is where the sewing will be going. The machine sewing will be going along there, along here. So we need to strengthen this just a little bit. Now that is that side, so I need another strip along here. There, I'm going to let that dry and then just trim the pieces off. Although you could actually leave them and embellish those. I might leave some of them. There we go. Now I'm going to give that a couple of minutes to dry before I machine sew it. So that will be the first piece, and I'll machine sew it right the way along here, avoiding here in the centre where the 2 cards meet, because if I sew along there I'm going to immediately weaken the join, which will make it difficult, which will probably split the paper when I come to fold it in half to put in to the folder. So that one needs a couple of minutes to dry, so just stick that there. Do exactly the same with all these sheets. So I've made a start on sewing these little spines onto the paper now to stiffen it, keep it nice and secure, and as you can hear, that is nice and firm. All I did, I let the glue dry on the spine along here, and I've just sewn it with a zigzag all the way around the edge. Now I've got my sewing machine at a really peculiar angle, and it's not easy. I've had to cover up the light underneath because every time I switch this on, it comes on, and it was just, the brightness was hiding the stitching. So just all the way around with a nice zigzag. Right, those are done now. Join them, zigzag along there. Might see it better on this one. And it looks really pretty. Now, if you get like this one, a little bit of overhang there, all you need to do is just fold back the page. You see this, it's fine there, it's edge to edge, but inside it doesn't quite match. Where this strip, this spine here, was wider than the one on the front. So just fold the page back so you've got that bit extending, and then just trim it. Just run your scissors down there and trim that off. Make it neat. And there you go. And I'll do the same to this side. Turn the page so that bit extends. The scissors, just trim that. Oops, just trim that off. I can feel that's not straight. And there you go. So yeah, it's a bit tatty there, but that doesn't matter. I should trim that in a minute. So those are the pages, the joined pages. I just think that is such a nice effect as it is. That one there and here. After I folded them all, is to think about the edges, the page edges. Now the edges need to be sewn, need to be decorated with sewing. If you're going to sew your edges, you need to do it before you assemble the signature, because that makes it so much easier than trying to sew when it's actually in finished book form. So I've got lots and lots of bits like everybody else. This is the stuff that I acrylic dyed way back, and some of these have been tea or coffee dyed. Got quite a lot of that. And these edges, page edges here, hand sewn, slow stitched. There's another one there. Oh, my favourite one isn't there. I did have 3. Yeah, I did find 3, but that'll turn up. And these will go along, not all the pages. I want all the pages decorated in some way. This is herringbone stitch, herringbone, couching, the string has been couched down, and slow stitch, a running stitch along here, that's couching through it. I might even get a strip of paper like so, the offcuts, fold it in half lengthwise like so. I should trim that off, pop those on the edges and machine sew that down. And what that actually does, it strengthens the edges, it protects them. Now this is vintage music paper. I think this is about 60s, that must be about, oh gosh, that's actually about 50 years old, this. So it's still strong in the middle, but I don't quite trust the edges. The edges are browning, which means that they're weakening. So the edges here, particularly here where it's going to be opened a lot, it's going to take a lot of touching, it needs to be strengthened. Now lace wouldn't strengthen that, so it's no good really putting some lace along there. The top will be okay, but not here. That's going to take a lot of wear. So this particular edge will probably need some sort of decorative paper along there. So you can do this by hand and you can glue it. Don't forget, it is basically a junk journal, and the very word junk means that you're going to use junk. You're going to use anything available that you have lying around, like these. I mean, most of this stuff has come out of my rag bag, like this, for instance. This is actually a piece of wrapping paper. I think it's from Paper Chase, I'm not sure. So that was in my cardboard box full of odds and ends. So some of these pieces have had to be joined like this because they literally are odds and ends. I mean, other people, non-arty people, would say, oh, what are you keeping that junk for? That is junk, bin it. But no, junk to us is wonderful. So like here, I've had to join these as well, but it has taken a long time today to do this, and I've enjoyed it, but I've had to stand to do it, so my feet are a bit sore. But that's another story, isn't it? Now what I will do, I'm going to tidy it up, tidy each one up one by one with these threads and that. I'm decided to keep some of them. I'm not going to cut them all because these will be ideal for dangles, for beads. So some of them I will keep like that because that is really nice and strong, and there's actually 4 threads there. Others I will cut off. I might have, no, I haven't cut that one off yet. But see, once again, joined, because these would have just been too small for pages. Joined with little bits of embellishment. Now I haven't actually, using that word embellishment, I haven't actually embellished yet. I've had a look at the size of the edges of the paper because they need to be machine sewn on or glued. You can use a heavy duty glue to do this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is make the pages into a signature. Now I've decided, because some of this is stiff along here, I'm going to iron these. I'm going to crease them and give them a nice iron so they lie flat, because they're going to be machine sewn as well. So don't forget, we are decorating with slow stitch and cross stitch. With this project we've introduced another stitch, and that is cross stitch. Still slow stitch, but this will be predominantly a cross stitch stroke slow stitch journal. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. There's still several more. I will explain the paper when we get to it during the embellishment stage. There's no point explaining the paper now because I might not use all of it. What I'm going to do now is put them into a signature. Now I want to put the side, the edge, one in each, one in there. So we're going to make like a folder, one in there. Make sure you get them the way you want, make sure they're the right way up. And you might want to spend some time making sure that you place them the right way, how you want them. I'm going to do this very quickly, and then I should go back and make sure that there are blank pages in between for writing, because as it is a journal, I'll leave the blank pages there. These need a bit more attention. There's that's got a blank page already, that's blank, and I shall put the blank pages in between patterned ones. Like this one can go there, that one will go there, and these pages will fold in here because this was the long one, or one of the long ones, so that page will fold in there and this way it will fold in there. I can see already I'm going to have to trim that one so it folds in nicely. Now I'm going to carry on and do this and rearrange all these. I might actually get 2 signatures out of all this because it's looking very thick at the moment. Well, there's been a change of plan. I managed to get 1 signature sewn in and then the sewing machine packed up. So I thought, oh, I don't really want to wait until after the bank holiday, so I'm going to sew the other 2 in by hand. I'm going to put pamphlet stitch in the other 2, so 1 will be machine sewn in as it has been, and the other 2 will be sewn by hand. So I'll just show you the one that's already been sewn in, nice and secure. It took 3 needles actually to sew that in because it is very thick. So I'm going to start with the middle one. I've placed them already because I did start sewing that one in and it's been sewn by about 1 inch, and then the sewing machine just stopped, so that will need looking at, but not to worry. So I'm going to sew this one in, but if I turn this round I'll do it this way. Now I've put the signature, I've placed it where I want it here. I'm just eyeballing it, I'm not going to any trouble to measure or anything. So the signature, the middle one, is evenly spaced between the front one and the back one. Now I've put some elastic round there to hold it down, hold it in place. I have some clips here, so with this clip I'll hold that one, see it's very thick, I'll hold that there, and with this clip I'll hold it there. Now that should be ready to sew. I need 3 holes. I need 1 round about there and there and possibly there. So the first thing to do is to make the holes. Now this might take some doing. Oh no, it's gone right the way through already. What? It's gone right the way through. So I'm just going to ease that out, and as I ease that out I'm going to quickly put the needle in and bring it out through to the back. Now you have to be careful here not to pull that right the way through. So just to secure it I'm going to make a big knot just so I won't pull it through, and I can do that because I have enough of this ribbon. This is a very strong polyester ribbon. So that is the first one. Whoops, I've slipped. Ugh, lovely. Now I need to now turn this over. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll make the hole first. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? So I want to make the hole here. I suppose it's about 1 inch. 1 inch from the edge. Next, oops. So the next hole will go down here, about 1 inch again. So in we go. Oh, ooh, that's a toughie. Oh, it's gone through something tough there. So as I pull this out, I'm going to quickly put the needle in again, holding it tightly. There we go. Pull that, and then I'm going to bring the needle up through the centre hole. So I'm going to turn it right back through that hole because I pulled the needle out through the centre. There we go. Making sure not to do what I did and pull the ribbon out. So that is the second one. Now we're going to pull that nice, straighten that up if you want to. If you don't want that twisted, just turn it round and then pull that nicely Lovely. And then we're going to knot it. Tie a bow, knot it, whatever you want. Right, I shall come back later and look at that. So that one's done. So I'm going to do the same with this one. Even bow. And we're running, there we go, through the first bit. Going to knock that. It actually looks neater than the first one. That's it, and that's the signatures in. Both signatures are now in, and I have space enough now. I say both, 3 signatures are in. So the journal is now finished, and it'll be ready for the next part, part 3, for us to start dressing the pages. So it's getting very exciting now. So I see you in part 3.